Emma woke up that morning feeling a flicker of excitement. Her birthday was in 2 days, and she had planned a quiet celebration for herself, maybe a small dinner, a gift she had been saving for months, something that felt like a reward for working so hard. But as she flipped open her laptop to check her bank account, her stomach dropped. She froze. $30,000 completely gone. Every transaction listed was foreign, unrecognizable, almost surreal. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through the charges, her eyes trying to make sense of the numbers. It couldn't be real. It just couldn't. She ran to the kitchen, her heart racing, hoping her dad might have an explanation. Maybe it was a mistake, a system error. He was sitting at the table, reading the newspaper as if it were a normal morning. But when she spoke, the words caught in her throat. "Dad, my credit card. It's maxed out. $30,000. Gone. Do you know what happened?" Her father didn't flinch. He lowered the paper slowly, almost deliberately, and studied her for a long moment. There was no panic in his eyes, no shock. Just a calmness that made her skin crawl. "Emma," he said, his voice steady, almost too calm. "Sometimes family has to make hard choices. That money, it's better spent elsewhere." "Better spent elsewhere?" She echoed, the disbelief and anger rising in her chest like a tidal wave. "That's my money, my savings. My birthday present to myself." He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples as though he were about to deliver a long, important speech. "Your sister. She's starting her business. She needs a push, and we thought—" "You took it," she shouted, cutting him off, her voice trembling but loud enough to echo in the kitchen. "You just let her take it. My dad, the person I trusted, just let my money disappear into her hands without even telling me." Her father's expression didn't change. There was no guilt, no regret, just a faint trace of justification, as if he truly believed he had done the right thing. "We thought it was for the best," he said. "Sometimes you don't see the bigger picture." Emma felt the world shift. Beneath her, the betrayal wasn't just financial, it was personal. She had grown up believing that her parents protected her, that they would always have her back. And now, in one swift, brutal moment, that belief shattered. She could feel the anger bubbling, raw and scorching, spreading through her veins. It wasn't just the money. It was the principle, the trust, the sense that her family had silently decided she didn't matter. She sank into a chair, her mind racing. $30,000 wasn't just a number. It was freedom, opportunity, something she had worked tirelessly to save. And now it was gone, used to fuel someone else's dreams while she was left standing empty-handed. She couldn't understand how her father could justify it so easily, how he could speak about hard choices as if her feelings were irrelevant. Emma's thoughts flickered wildly. She imagined confronting her sister, demanding answers, making them feel the weight of their actions. But she also imagined the deeper satisfaction of exposing them, of proving that their sense of superiority and entitlement was a lie. Her pulse quickened with each scenario, each plan more daring, more precise than the last. The anger was intoxicating, but so was the idea of revenge. It made her feel alive, almost unstoppable. Her mother entered the kitchen then, humming softly, oblivious to the storm raging in the room. "What's wrong?" she asked casually. Emma's voice cracked as she pointed at the statement on her laptop. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" $30,000, Mom. My money. Do you even hear me?" Her mother looked at the screen, then at her father, then back at Emma. "Don't be dramatic," she said, brushing off the panic in Emma's eyes. "Money comes and goes. You'll get over it." "You'll get over it?" Emma shouted, incredulous. "It's my money. You just gave it to her." Her father shrugged, like it was the simplest thing in the world. "Emma, it's a family decision. We had to think about what was best. You're upset. Yes, but this isn't about you. Life isn't always fair." The words hit Emma like a punch to the chest. Life wasn't fair. Yes, but that didn't make it right. Her trust had been stolen, her birthday ruined, and her sense of security dismantled. Her hands shook as she gripped the edge of the table. She wanted to scream, to hit something, to make them feel a fraction of the pain she was experiencing. But she knew yelling wouldn't change anything. It would only make her look small in a room where she already felt powerless. Her mind began racing, plotting. How could she reclaim what was hers? How could she make them understand the consequences of their choices? For a brief moment, she imagined exposing every secret, making them feel betrayed, just as she felt. The desire for revenge wasn't just a fleeting thought. It became a pulse, a rhythm in her veins. Every heartbeat reminded her of the injustice. Every breath reminded her of the trust they had shattered. She realized then that this wasn't just about money. It was about respect, recognition, and justice. It was about taking back control of her life when the people she loved most had taken it from her. She clenched her fists, a determination forming in the pit of her stomach. She wouldn't let this slide, not easily, not quietly. Yet, beneath the anger, there was a flicker of doubt. Could she confront them and not let the confrontation destroy her? Could she find a way to reclaim what was hers without losing herself in the process? That thought lingered, a shadow beneath the flames of her rage. Emma left the kitchen, her laptop under her arm, the statement burning in her mind. She needed space, clarity, a plan. The betrayal had struck deep, but it also ignited something inside her. A need for justice, for accountability, for control over her own destiny. And she knew, without a doubt, that she wouldn't rest until she had found a way to make things right. As she walked down the hall, her father's voice followed her, calm and unnerving. "Emma, sometimes family makes sacrifices you won't understand right now." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The betrayal had spoken louder than any words ever could. And in that moment, Emma realized something vital. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about reclaiming herself, her pride, and her sense of trust. The fire of betrayal had taken hold, and there was no turning back. Emma's days blurred together after the betrayal. She went to work, smiled when people greeted her, and pretended everything was normal. But inside, a storm was raging. Every spare moment, every quiet second, her mind returned to the stolen money, to her father's calm voice, to the thought that her own family had betrayed her. The anger had transformed into a cold, burning determination. She wasn't just hurt, she was planning, thinking, calculating. She began tracking every detail. She reviewed her credit card transactions again and again, memorizing the amounts, the dates, the locations. She made notes on her phone in secret, every line a breadcrumb toward understanding how this had happened. It was more than curiosity. It was a methodical hunt. She wanted to know exactly how far the betrayal had gone, how much had been taken, and if there were ways to reverse it without their knowledge. At night, she stayed awake. She scrolled through forums, watched tutorials on financial recovery, and even legal advice channels. Every tip, every strategy became a potential weapon. The idea of taking back her money wasn't enough anymore. She imagined letting her family feel the fear, the uncertainty, the loss of control that she had felt. It was intoxicating, the rush of imagining them paying attention to her pain. But with every plan she imagined, doubt crept in. Could she really do it? Could she become someone who operated in the shadows, who manipulated and struck to get revenge? Emma hated that even thinking this way made her pulse quicken. She wanted justice, but she didn't want to lose herself in the process. That moral struggle haunted her like a shadow, whispering that satisfaction might come at too high a cost. Started small. She tested her father with subtle questions, watching his reactions, noticing the tiny twitches, the slight hesitations, the way he tried to appear calm. She noticed patterns in how her mother dismissed her, the way they both assumed she would accept the situation quietly. Every observation was a clue, every slip a chance to understand how to regain control. Her imagination ran wild during the day. She pictured confronting her sister, demanding every cent back in front of the family, making them all feel her fury. She saw herself sending anonymous messages, exposing the truth in ways that would shock them. Some nights, she even imagined subtle sabotages, small, clever actions that would make them question their decisions, wonder if they were safe. Just as she had been blindsided, but she also recognized the danger of letting anger guide her. Each plan carried a risk, not just of being caught, but of losing herself. She remembered the early days after discovering the theft, the nights of crying, the sense of hopelessness that had driven her into these fantasies. She realized that if she acted purely out of rage, she might end up trapped in a cycle of vengeance that never ended. The thought made her pause, but only for a moment. Emma became disciplined. She recorded every interaction, every odd comment, every vague excuse. She mapped her family's financial habits, noting when money moved between accounts, how her father justified decisions, and how her mother stayed comfortably detached. Each discovery added layers to her understanding and strengthened her resolve. She was no longer a passive victim. She was an observer, a strategist, quietly preparing. Sleep became inconsistent. Her dreams were vivid with revenge scenarios. Her father realizing she knew, her sister's business faltering because of subtle interventions, the feeling of power as the truth came out. She woke up exhausted but exhilarated, knowing each day brought new insights. Her mind moved constantly, a machine of planning, observation, and calculation. At work, she maintained a calm exterior. She smiled at co-workers, nodded in meetings, and performed her duties flawlessly. No one suspected the storm inside her. The contrast between her composed daytime persona and her private obsession with vengeance made her feel both powerful and isolated. She could trust no one. She felt alone, a solitary figure fueled by a mixture of hurt, determination, and moral conflict. Occasionally, she caught herself imagining simpler revenge, sending a scathing email, exposing a family secret, creating a scene at a family dinner. These thoughts made her feel a rush of adrenaline, but also a pang of guilt. Could she really stoop to that level? She asked herself over and over. Would the satisfaction be worth the cost? Her own life had value. Her own peace of mind was precious. She couldn't let anger consume her completely. Emma's obsession began to sharpen her instincts. She noticed inconsistencies in her parents' stories, the way her father tried to justify every decision logically, as if emotion didn't matter. She studied their body language, timing, and reactions. She became attuned to subtleties she had never noticed before. The betrayal had made her vigilant, alert, calculating qualities that could serve her well if she chose her path carefully. Yet, there was always the shadow of hesitation. Each step toward revenge was weighed against the risk of moral compromise. Could she live with herself if she caused harm, even if it was justified? Could she bear the guilt that came from taking someone down, even someone who had betrayed her deeply? This internal battle became almost a second life, a psychological chess game she played in silence. Some nights, she considered walking away entirely. She imagined leaving the city, opening a new bank account, building a new life, and letting her family's choices define them, not her. The thought was tempting, but her anger refused to let go. There was a need for acknowledgement, for recognition that what they did was wrong. Not punishment, not destruction, but awareness. That need kept her awake, kept her plotting, kept her thinking strategically instead of emotionally. Emma also began reflecting on her relationship with her parents. The patterns of control, the sense that they had always expected obedience. She realized that the stolen money was not just a one-time act. It was part of a larger dynamic, one she hadn't fully understood before. The betrayal had opened her eyes to their tendencies, their willingness to prioritize appearances or another. Child's comfort over fairness. That clarity was painful but empowering. As the days passed, her focus sharpened. The desire for revenge transformed from a chaotic emotional outburst into a deliberate, strategic goal. She would reclaim control, but she would do it smartly. She would test boundaries, observe reactions, and decide carefully when and if time came to act. Each choice was measured, each possibility evaluated. But even as she planned, a quiet voice reminded her that revenge wasn't a simple equation. Satisfaction could be temporary, and the consequences unpredictable. She knew she had to balance her desire for justice with the preservation of her own life and values. That tension, the tightrope between action and morality, became the center of her world. And so, Emma lived in two worlds simultaneously. By day, she was the composed daughter, polite and controlled, performing ordinary tasks as if nothing had happened. By night, she was a strategist, plotting, calculating, imagining the possibilities, wrestling with her conscience and sharpening her resolve. The betrayal had ignited a fire, and she was learning to control it, focus it, and use it wisely. By the end of the week, Emma felt stronger, more alert, more determined. The betrayal had hurt, yes, but it had also awakened something in her. Awareness, vigilance, and the quiet power of careful planning. She was ready to face the next stage, not blindly, not impulsively, but with a mind prepared for the critical decision that lay ahead. The storm inside her had become a force, and the question wasn't whether she would seek revenge, but how and when she would act, and whether she could do it without losing herself in the process. After the betrayal, Emma felt like her life had tilted on its axis. Every routine, every habit, every interaction with her family was tainted by the memory of that stolen $30,000. At work, she smiled, joked, and performed flawlessly. But inside, her mind raced endlessly. She couldn't focus, couldn't eat properly, couldn't sleep. The anger had transformed into something sharper, calculated, cold and demanding. She wasn't just hurt anymore. She was planning. She spent hours going over her bank statements, analyzing every transaction, her credit card activity, her accounts, her statements. They were no longer just numbers. They were clues, maps, opportunities. Every withdrawal she didn't recognize was a thread leading to a story she was determined to uncover. Emma began making notes in a notebook she kept hidden, marking dates, amounts, and suspicious details. She treated it like a mission, each observation a small victory over her sense of powerlessness. At night, she scrolled through financial recovery guides and legal advice blogs, bookmarking methods to reclaim funds, learning the steps to trace transfers, even exploring subtle ways to expose wrongdoing without putting herself at risk. She imagined the look on her father's face if she discovered his deception fully. She imagined the disbelief, the panic, and the quiet realization that she was no longer powerless. The fantasy was intoxicating, but she also knew acting impulsively could backfire. Every plan had to be precise. Every step measured. Emma became hyper-aware of her family's behavior. She watched her father in ways she never had before: his habits, his reactions, even the pauses he took before speaking. His calm, collected exterior was the perfect mask, but she learned to detect the cracks. The hesitation in his voice when he discussed money, the way his eyes flickered when her name came up in conversation. Her mother's casual dismissal of her concerns was equally revealing. Emma noted every detail, every inconsistency. She was building a mental map of their defenses, weaknesses, and routines. During the day, Emma practiced restraint. She refrained from confrontations, keeping her composure even when her family made careless remarks about money or assumed she wouldn't notice their manipulations. Her restraint was a skill, a way of preparing for the moment when she would need their ignorance against them. She realized that revenge wasn't about raw emotion. It was about strategy. Planning carefully gave her control, and control made her feel powerful again. Her imagination ran wild with scenarios. She pictured confronting her sister, demanding the money back, watching her crumble under the weight of accountability. She imagined sending anonymous warnings, exposing the truth without revealing her identity, creating tension that would force them to reconsider their actions. Some nights, she pictured subtle sabotage, small, clever moves that would shake their confidence without overtly harming them. Each scenario thrilled her, but each also made her question how far she was willing to go. Sleep became fragmented. Dreams were vivid, filled with confrontations, secrets being revealed, and the satisfaction of being finally understood. She woke up exhausted, her pulse still racing, but with her resolve stronger than before. The mental rehearsal was training her mind, sharpening her instincts, preparing her for decisions that required precision and self-control. Despite her growing obsession, Emma's moral compass tugged at her constantly. Could she cross a line and still feel justified? Would causing fear or distress in her parents make her victory real? Or would it leave her empty? The tension between revenge and morality became her constant companion. Each day she wrestled with the choice between immediate, impulsive action and patient, calculated strategy. Each night she reviewed her options, weighing risk and reward like a chess player anticipating moves far in advance. Emma's awareness extended beyond finances. She noticed patterns in conversations, in behavior, in small interactions that revealed priorities and vulnerabilities. The betrayal had been a wake-up call. She understood her family in ways she never had before: their tendencies, their justifications, their assumptions about her obedience. She realized that the stolen money was not an isolated act, but a symptom of a larger imbalance in their relationships. That awareness was painful but empowering. Her life split into two realities. By day, she was composed, efficient, polite, and unsuspecting. She laughed, participated in meetings, and kept her thoughts hidden behind a calm exterior. By night, she was a strategist, a detective, a planner, thinking through every possibility, observing patterns, rehearsing outcomes. The two sides of her existence fed each other, balancing outward normalcy with internal vigilance. Sometimes she imagined walking away, entirely leaving the city, opening new accounts, cutting ties, and building a life untouched by betrayal. The thought was freeing, almost seductive, but she knew leaving without addressing the injustice would feel like surrender. The desire for acknowledgement, for recognition, for her family to understand the weight of their actions, kept her tethered. She needed resolution, not just escape. Emma became disciplined. She created routines to monitor accounts discreetly, to ask subtle questions without revealing intent, and to note every suspicious move. She tested boundaries carefully, observing reactions, noting which arguments her parents would dodge, which excuses they would repeat. Each interaction became data, each conversation a layer of insight. Her strategic mind thrived in this environment, fueled by a blend of anger, intelligence, and careful patience. Her obsession sharpened her perception. She noticed nuances she had never seen before: the timing of her father's gestures, the pauses before her mother responded, the micro-expressions that betrayed true feelings. She was learning to anticipate responses, to read intentions, to navigate the hidden dynamics of her family with clarity she had never possessed. Betrayal had made her vigilant, almost predator-like, but in a controlled, deliberate way. Even as she honed her plans, Emma kept questioning herself. Was this path safe? Was satisfaction guaranteed? Could she live with herself if the actions she imagined caused distress, even if justified? The internal struggle became part of her daily life, a psychological battlefield she couldn't ignore. But each day she survived it. Each day she gained clarity. Each day she grew stronger. Emma's anger transformed into focus. The stolen money was no longer just a loss. It was the catalyst that made her see clearly, think strategically, and prepare for the right moment. The desire for revenge wasn't impulsive anymore. It was calculated, precise, and patient. She could wait. She could observe. She could choose the moment when her actions would have maximum impact. By the end of the week, Emma felt a quiet power rising within her. The betrayal had hurt, but it had awakened skills and instincts she didn't know she had. She was alert, focused, and aware in ways she hadn't been before. She was ready to move forward with a plan, aware of the risks, conscious of the moral stakes, and determined to reclaim control of her life. She no longer felt like a victim. She felt like someone preparing for the decisive moment, someone who had turned anger into intelligence, betrayal into strategy, and hurt into a quiet, burning resolve. The conflict inside her wasn't over. It would continue to test her judgment and morality, but she had accepted it as part of her journey. Every thought, every plan, every observation brought her closer to the moment when she would face her family and make a choice. Emma's nights became moments of clarity. She reviewed everything she had learned, everything she had noticed, and every scenario she could imagine. She was ready to act, but only when the moment was perfect. The fire inside her burned steadily now, no longer chaotic, but controlled, focused, and precise. She had transformed her anger into power, her pain into preparation, and her betrayal into strategy. And in the quiet, late-night hours, Emma realized the truth. Revenge wasn't about immediate gratification. It was about control, understanding, and the ability to act decisively when the time was right. She was no longer powerless. She was ready.